possibilities that have been opened up by this, the force multiplier that comes with this is like, if we break out of the traditional boundaries of software engineers who are trained in computer science, you know, being the ones who are building the good stuff, and open that wider, that's when some of the opportunities that I'm talking about, those green fields, will be discovered. And then once they've been discovered, then we can start implementing them. I think pretty much similar, like what I was saying, is allowing people who are already skilled to become more efficient and move up that value chain, allowing us to contribute much better to the business, while also potentially giving us a much better experience at work. I mean, nowadays, it's pretty common to talk about things like work-life balance. 20 years ago, it wasn't. And because nowadays, because of better business processes, because of maybe artificial intelligence beginning to find its way into the enterprise and driving those efficiencies, that valued staff and valuable staff can be treated better than they were. So, you know, that's one of the things that it's taught me. And then the second thing I think that it's taught me was a really interesting scenario, is at Google, we are famous for the perks that we get. And one of those perks is free food. Now, if you're a large company and you're giving free food out to employees, you're going to be under the magnifying glass for food wastage. So it's something that was a decision made at a very early stage, that machine learning would be used there to try and figure out how can we be much more efficient and productive and reduce waste in the food that we serve. And that's, you know, that has become a part of it. So the algorithm is like saying, well, if there's barbecue night, there's probably going to be more people showing up, you know, and things like that. That as a result, the food waste that we've had, I can't talk about across the company, but I know in the cafe in the office that I've worked at, which is in Kirkland in Washington, that the percentage, it's like, you know, less than 0.1% wastage type of thing, if I remember the stat right. And that has been driven by the fact that artificial intelligence and machine learning has been applied to that relatively mundane but very important task. And, you know, and if that's the kind of thing that can be done for that kind of task, what can we do for other bigger, more important tasks? Yeah, great question. So I'll start with healthcare. I think when people think about AI in healthcare, they generally think about, you know, AI doing the healthcare itself first and foremost, and that may not be the best way of thinking about it. But I mean, it's still useful there. But let me first talk about, like, thinking about going back to the theme I was talking about earlier on about driving efficiency. Healthcare systems, particularly in the UK, you're lucky enough to have a National Health Service, and it's a government-run body. It's funded by taxpayers. And as you have an aging population and as higher needs for healthcare are needed, it's political suicide to raise taxes to pay for that. So the government's in a little bit of a bind. So one of the things they want to do is drive efficiency. And I once spoke with the manager of an A&E department in the UK, and she shared how much effective waste that they have to do in order to be prepared for the worst. So, you know, Friday night and Saturday night are the nights when you have most people coming into the A&E because of, like, post-bar brawls and stuff like that. And, you know, they have to oversubscribe to the number of doctors that are available. They have to have an extra doctors on call just in case there's a surge. A lot of medical equipment expires, so they have to always have enough on hand for the worst case scenario, but then some of that expires and is wasted. So here's an example of where, by driving efficiency, by using AI and machine learning to be able to better predict based on historic data, they might be able to save some of that money and save some of that wastage while still hitting the service level that they need to be able to hit to, you know, provide proper care for people. Don't want to suggest in any way cutting the proper care for people, but I want to suggest maybe here's a way that the waste could be cut. But of course, it can also be used in healthcare. There's one project that I always like to share called diabetic retinopathy. And diabetic retinopathy is the world's leading cause of blindness, but it can also be cured or prevented by early screening. The problem is, in many countries, there aren't enough doctors to do that early screening. So we at Google worked together with, we hired a bunch of doctors, and we worked together with some folks in India, where we got, I think it was about 30,000 retina scans. And from that, we had the doctors label those retina scans to be everything from no diabetic retinopathy all the way up to serious diabetic retinopathy. And then we trained a computer vision system on that. And what the computer vision system was able to do was replicate how the doctors had labeled this, only more efficient than a human doctor could. So now there's a way here that the existing human doctors could be augmented and made more efficient by the use of a system like this one. Don't want to suggest in any way replacing the doctor, because the human still needs to be in the loop. But now, given that there's a shortage of doctors, what if a doctor can be made more efficient by being able to diagnose 30 people in a day instead of 10 people in a day? Then that shortage of doctors and the damage caused by that shortage of doctors can be exacerbated. So I think things like that is, where AI and machine learning can be enormously helpful in healthcare, both in the administration side to help it be more efficient and cut costs, as well as, to make doctors more efficient in some areas, like where computer vision is possible to help with diagnosis. Good question. I think it's more than just about diversity. Sometimes, as an industry, we say, oh, we have, we need more people of this gender or this race or this national origin or this sexual orientation or those kind of things. And when we say diversity, we kind of mean that. But I think it's much more than just that, although that, of course, is very important. What I'm really driving at here is that given the mass opportunities that come with this ability to scale your power with AI that I've been talking about, that more people involved in the loop, more humans in the loop, bringing their experience in to provide more opportunities and to provide more and better ideation than we have today, is the kind of thing that where exciting things can happen. Like the example I gave earlier on of my friend with disabilities, right? He probably wouldn't traditionally be in a job around AI. Now he's consulting to help companies build AI-based systems for people with disabilities. And so I think, the possibilities that have been opened up by this, the force multiplier that comes with this is like, if we break out of the traditional boundaries of software engineers who are trained in computer science, being the ones who are building the good stuff, and open that wider, that's when some of the opportunities that I'm talking about, those green fields, will be discovered. And then once they've been discovered, then we can start implementing them. Well, I hope they have a good time. And I do hope that they come away informed, inspired, and knowing where to go to get equipped.